Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Smriti Rastogi. In a major breakthrough on the insurgency front in the northeast, around 50 cadres of the anti-talk Sao Rai Gwara faction of the National Democratic Front of Bodoland or NDFBS returned to India last week from Myanmar to join the ongoing peace process with the centre. The cadres were led by the faction's chairman, B. Sao Rai Gwara, who expressed willingness to give up the group's armed struggle. Bodos are the single largest tribal community in Assam, making up over 5 to 6% of the state's population. They have controlled large parts of Assam in the past. They have had a long history of separatist demands marked by armed struggle. In October 1986, the prominent group Bodo Security Force was formed by Ranjan Daimari, demanding a separate Bodo state. The BDSF subsequently renamed itself as the National Democratic Front of Bodoland. Today, in depth, we are discussing the likely new Bodo Peace Pact, the history of NDFB and its factions, and agitation for Bodoland and the insurgency in the northeast region of the country. The much-awaited peace talks in Assam could finally be gaining some traction. This after a significant move. The anti-talks faction of the National Democratic Front of Bodoland, NDFBS, returned to India from neighbouring Myanmar on Saturday to hold talks with the state government and the centre. The move has been brokered by Bodoland Territorial Council, with its chief expressing confidence that all factions of the NDFB will be part of the new Bodo Peace Pact with the government. In a major breakthrough against insurgency front in the northeast, around 50 cadres of the anti-talk Sao Rai Gwara faction of the National Democratic Front of Bodoland or NDFBS returned to India last week from Myanmar to join the ongoing peace process with the centre. The cadres were led by the faction's chairman, B. Sao Rai Gwara, who expressed willingness to give up their armed struggle. According to the sources, all NDFBS cadres were provided safe passage by the army at the international border in Manipur to cross over to India. The members are kept at a safe location under strict security cover, and the top leadership is likely to head to New Delhi and begin discussions with the central government. Some more members of the NDFBS are likely to join the peace process in the coming days.
The last of the Bodo militant group, which surrendered on Saturday from the Myanmar border, they entered Manipur in Tamu. Through Tamu they entered More. About 50 of them with the heavy arms. It's a sign of ending of militancy in Bodo areas. It's a very welcome sign.
The signs are quite positive, and we are very hopeful that if the peace processes come to a conclusion, so one long-going insurgency in Assam comes to a very positive end. That is the most important perspective. But I should also talk that Bodo insurgency for a long time we've been able to control, because there was also BLT, Bodo, another group, and which was also very ferocious group. But during the 90s they had already signed an agreement, and 2003 finally one more peace process was signed. That's how Bodo Territorial Council was created, and already a big faction, big section of Bodo who took up arms, they have come to the peace process. So the success story is already there, but we want to ensure that peace comes in totality.
Leading organizations in the northeast, including the All Bodo Students Union, have welcomed the move reportedly initiated by the centre to bring peace in the area. Bodoland Territorial Council Chief Hagrama Mohilari on Sunday claimed that he mediated between the NDFBS and all other factions of the NDFB. He also expressed confidence that all factions of the NDFB will be part of the new Bodo Pact likely to be signed with the government. Reportedly, the rebel outfit was also under tremendous pressure as the Myanmar army was carrying out operations against Indian insurgent groups and cadres of rebel outfits.
There are a lot of factors. Definitely Bodo insurgency, one thing was very clear, that major chunk, a very section, always they never wanted separation from India. The majority of the people wanted to be in India but a separate autonomous entity. Of course, NDFB had a different agenda, but with times they have realized that this is not possible, and it has always been long years. Also the support base was reducing substantially because they were in Bhutan, and Bhutan government, actually the downfall started from the 2000 only. There was the Bhutan army took action because they were hiding and they were running their camps. From there they had to come up, and that's how you see the ceasefire agreement taking place in 2005. But again, there has been long process, but definitely the process were on. Group by group they are coming back, and they have realized that it is important to join the peace process.
Formed in 1986, NDFB is an armed separatist outfit which seeks to obtain a sovereign Bodo land for the Bodo people. Designated as a terrorist organization by the government, NDFB signed a tripartite ceasefire agreement with the Union government and the Assam government in 2012. The outfit entered into a ceasefire agreement with the government in 2005, but continued to violate ceasefire and did not come forward for direct talks. However, in later years, the group split into various factions, and following the arrest of its founder, Ranjan Daimari, in 2009, began the process of informal talks with the government. With inputs from Vipul Agarwal, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. The Bodo agitation has a long history that dates back to the pre-independence era. However, the movement for a separate Bodo land gained momentum in the late 1980s when calls were made for the bifurcation of Assam. In this report, let's try and understand the history of the Bodo agitation.
The Bodos are an ethnic and linguistic group of people believed to be the earliest settlers in present-day Northeast. With a population of 1.5 million, the Bodos form the region's largest tribal group and are scattered across Assam and some adjoining states. Although the bulk of them live in the districts in the jurisdiction of the Bodoland Territorial Council.
They had, the last demand was to grant them 6th schedule, which was granted in the last Bodo Accord. And when Hagarama became the Bodo Council chief. And I think they are doing very well. I think these people, those who have remained in Myanmar, maybe they were not aware of what was being granted and how it is being used and how people are enjoying it.
The Bodoland movement can be traced way back to 1929, when the demand of a separate electorate for Bodo tribals in Assam was put before the Simon Commission. Bodo leader Gurudev Kalicharan Brahma submitted a memorandum to the Simon Commission asking for reservation in the Legislative Assembly and for a separate political entity for his people. In the 1960s and 70s, there were calls from Bodos and other tribes for a separate state of Udhyachal, as immigrants from Bangladesh were accused of illegally encroaching on Bodo inhabited lands. In the late 1980s, calls for a separate state of Bodo land for the Bodos and for Assam to be divided were raised. All Bodo Students' Union President Upendra Nath Brahma adopted a peaceful approach, but around the same time, some armed separatist groups like the Bodoland Liberation Tigers and the National Democratic Front of Bodoland were founded. In February 1993, the Bodoland Autonomous Council was constituted after the Centre, the Assam government and the ABSU signed a tripartite agreement. The accord, however, was on the creation of an administrative authority within the state of Assam called the Bodoland Autonomous Council and not of Bodoland. In February 2003, the Bodoland Territorial Council was formed after the centre, the Assam government and the BLT signed a tripartite agreement. The BLT was then disbanded. The BTC was to administer the Bodoland Territorial Area, an entity based on the idea of a state within a state and created by the reorganization of 7 Assamese districts into 4 districts, Kokrajhar, Chirang, Udalguri and Buxa. In 2005, the National Democratic Front of Bodoland agreed to a ceasefire with the Assam government and the centre. After the treaty was signed, the group split into 3 factions. Currently, 2 factions of the NDFB, NDFB-P led by Gobind Basumatari and NDFB-R led by Ranjan Demari are involved in peace talks with the centre, while NDFB-S is against holding talks under the constitutional framework. In 2012, ethnic riots involving Bengali-speaking Muslims and the Bodos in Bodoland Territorial Area district killed nearly 100 and rendered 4 lakh people homeless. In May 2014, Bodo terrorists killed more than 30 people in Kokrajhar and Buxa districts, allegedly believing that the victims had not voted for their candidates in the Lok Sabha elections held in April. Months later, in December 2014, attacks by Bodo terrorists killed at least 81 people and rendered 2 lakh homeless. Following the attacks, the centre launched Operation All Out, a large-scale military operation involving the Army, the Air Force, Assam State Police and paramilitary forces with an aim to eliminate NDFBS completely.
The most important was initially was that they wanted to create an independent state, independent country, carving out the Bodo-dominated areas in Assam. And second, of course, they wanted to create a socialist society where everybody has equal liberty and these are the 2 major demands, but definitely this is creating a separate country for Bodoland which will create their Bodo identity and their uniqueness was the major demand of this group.
In recent months, following the bifurcation of Jammu and Kashmir into 2 union territories, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, the Bodoland movement organizations once again pitched for their long-pending statehood demand. They've urged the government to protect their ethnic identity, way of life and language, and also take care of their political representation and the land which they have inhabited for years. With inputs from Vipul Agarwal, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And with that, we'll slip into a very quick break. Stay with us.
Which article defines qualification for the membership of Rajya Sabha? Article 84 of the Constitution lays down the qualifications for the membership of the Rajya Sabha.
We are 4 million now. Rajya Sabha Television's YouTube channel has 4 million subscribers now.
1 million people have subscribed to our channel in less than 6 months.
6,000 people join our YouTube channel daily.
RSTV's YouTube channel has 1 million video views every day.
In 2019 alone, Rajya Sabha Television's YouTube channel had 400 million video views.
Become a part of RSTV.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Like and share our videos.
Rajya Sabha Television, marching ahead.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Vishal Dahiya, at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha TV.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. Bodos are the single largest tribal community in Assam, making up over 5 to 6% of the state's population. They have controlled large parts of Assam in the past. In October 1986, the prominent group Bodo Security Force was formed by Ranjan Daimari, seeking to create a separate Bodo state. The BDSF subsequently renamed itself as the National Democratic Front of Bodoland. But since then, it has split into multiple factions. Let us now take a look at the NDFB, its formation and its various factions. Bodos are the single largest tribal community in Assam, making up over 5 to 6% of the state's population. They have controlled large parts of Assam in the past. The 4 districts in Assam, Kokrajhar, Baksa, Udalguri and Chirang that constitute the Bodo Territorial Area District or BTAD are home to several ethnic groups. The Bodos have had a long history of separatist demands marked by armed struggle. In 1966 to 67, the demand for a separate state called Bodoland was raised under the banner of the Plains Tribals Council of Assam, a political outfit. In 1987, the All Bodo Students' Union renewed this demand. The unrest was a fallout of the Assam movement in 1979 to 85, whose culmination, the Assam Accord, addressed the demands of protection and safeguards of the Assamese people, leading the Bodos to launch a movement to protect their own identity.
In 1985, when Assam Accord was signed, the movement we thought had settled down and the peace would prevail. At that time, the Bodos stood and they started demanding separate state of Bodoland in Assam. And that time, the militancy in Bodo areas started. And you know, it continued for a few years. There was the Bodo Accord when Rajesh Pilot, who was the Internal Security Minister in Delhi, he went and signed the first Bodo Accord with Prem Singh Brahma. And that accord continued for some time, but again, there was unrest in Bodo areas and the Bodos started demanding again. So the second accord was signed with the 6th schedule granting of to the Bodo areas. 6th schedule means they have the financial powers to implement in their own areas.
In October 1986, the prominent group Bodo Security Force or BDSF was formed by Ranjan Daimari. The BDSF subsequently renamed itself as the National Democratic Front of Bodoland. It is an ethnic insurgent organization demanding an independent state for the Bodo ethnic group in Assam. In the 1990s, Indian security forces launched extensive operations against the group, causing the latter to flee to the bordering Bhutan. In Bhutan, the group faced stiff counter-insurgency operations by the Indian Army and the Royal Bhutan Army in the early 2000s. In October 2008, bomb attacks in Assam carried out by the NDFB killed 90 people. In January 2019, 10 operatives, including founder Ranjan Daimari, were convicted for their role in the attacks. After the 2008 blast, the NDFB split into 2 factions, the NDFB-P led by B. Sungathagra and the NDFB-R led by Ranjan Daimari. The NDFB-P started talks with the central government in 2009. In 2010, Daimari was arrested and handed over to India by Bangladesh. He was granted bail in 2013. His faction too then began peace talks with the government. In 2012, Ingti Kathar Songbijit broke away from the NDFB-R and formed his own faction, the NDFB-S. His faction is believed to be behind the killings of 66 Adivasis in Assam in December 2014. The NDFB-S has so far been against the talks. In 2015, Songbijit, who himself is a Karbi and not a Bodo, was removed as the chief of the group, and B. Sauraigwara took over. This faction of the NDFB is still active. Under pressure from the security forces, NDFBS has been completely marginalized and its leadership has been requesting for ceasefire, which the centre has rejected. While the Northeast region has a rich and distinct cultural and ethnic identity, it has suffered for decades due to insurgency. Most of these groups demand sovereign or autonomous states, while others demand protection for the natives against the immigrants. The government has successfully run schemes trying to get the militants to surrender and join the mainstream. Here's a look at the insurgency in the northeastern region.
Northeast India, the land of the Seven Sisters, with a distinct culture, ethnicity and natural resources. The beauty of the hill states often marred by insurgency across the region, with their demands ranging from calls for separate homeland to better conditions for ethnic groups to protecting their culture. The various Indian insurgent groups in the Northeast region have been spreading violence for decades. Assam has been a hotbed of militancy due to its porous borders with Bangladesh and Bhutan and proximity to Myanmar. The United Liberation Front of Assam was formed in April 1979 with a demand for a sovereign state of Assam. The government banned the organization in 1990, citing it as a terrorist group. The National Democratic Front of Bodoland was formed in 1989. It called for a separate Bodoland for the Bodo people. It is also designated as a terrorist organization by the Government of India. Manipur suffered under the clutches of several insurgent groups ever since it became part of the Indian Union on 15 October 1949. The first separatist faction, United National Liberation Front, was founded on 24 November 1964. Insurgency continued even after Manipur became a separate state on 21 January 1972. In September 1980, the government imposed the Armed Forces Special Powers Act 1958 on the region due to widespread insurgency. The carving out of Nagaland in 1963 from Assam gave rise to calls of full independence by insurgent groups. The National Socialist Council of Nagaland was formed in 1980 to establish a Greater Nagaland. The NSCN split in 1988 to form two groups, NSCN-IM and NSCN-K. Both groups have observed a ceasefire truce with the government. In 1971, Meghalaya was separated from Assam to provide a separate state to Khasi, Sinting and Garo people. However, the ethnic groups continued their struggle, demanding their due against non-tribal immigrants. The first militant outfit to emerge in the region was the HALC in 1992. Formed in 2009, the Garo National Liberation Army is demanding for a sovereign Garo land through armed militancy. The insurgent groups in Tripura emerged at the end of the 1970s as a result of ethnic tensions between Bengali immigrants and the tribal native population. The National Liberation Front of Tripura was formed in March 1989 for the protection of rights of native population against the Bengali-speaking immigrants. The All Tripura Tiger Force was formed by local aboriginal tribes in 1990. In 1986, the Mizo Accord ended the secessionist movement led by the Mizo National Front, bringing peace to the state of Mizoram. However, the insurgency status is partially active in the state due to secessionist demands by the Chakmas and the Brus. The government is taking various measures to end insurgency in the region by making militant outfits surrender. Under the policy, which was revised for 6 years in 2018, the government offers to surrenderies.
The northeast border, we have to understand the geography of the northeast. In fact, 85% of northeast is surrounded by various countries and it has a porous border. So it becomes very easy for these groups to move in and move out. So we need cooperation of these countries. That's how Bhutan supported. So they were easily for them, and these are lots of dense forest areas. So they can easily go and open up their, they can run their operations across the border. But so Bhutan cooperated, Bangladesh cooperated in a big way. And also there has been some sort of good understanding with Myanmar government, and that's how this cooperation has also helped. Government of India has, as I said, they are always encouraging them to come back to the peace process along with strong insurgency operation.
An immediate grant of 4 lakh rupees as a fixed deposit. Stipend of 6,000 rupees per month to each surrenderee for 3 years. Vocational training for self-employment, and also funds for construction of rehabilitation camps, among others. From 2014 to July 2019, over 1,700 militants from the Northeast region had surrendered and joined the mainstream of the society. With inputs from Vipul Agarwal, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
That's all we have for you in this edition of In Depth. We will be back same time tomorrow with a focus on another key subject. You can also watch our program online on YouTube. Suggestions and feedbacks about our program are welcome. Thank you for watching.